The chief prosecutor of the International Criminal Court has applied for arrest warrants against the top Israeli leadership for war crimes and crimes against humanity. With Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's name in the arrest warrants list, the ICC Prosecutor announced that the court had quote-unquote reasonable and clear grounds to ascertain his involvement in the commission of war crimes and crimes against humanity. And our next report gets more details.
The International Criminal Court in The Hague.
The International Criminal Court's prosecutor has requested arrest warrants for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, his defence chief Yoav Gallant, and 3 Hamas leaders over alleged war crimes. ICC Prosecutor Karim Khan said in a statement on Monday that he had reasonable grounds to believe that all bear criminal responsibility for alleged war crimes and crimes against humanity. The Hamas leaders' arrest warrants were for the group's chief, Yahya Sinwar, Mohammed al-Masri, the commander-in-chief of its military wing, and Ismail Haniyeh, head of its political bureau.
Those who do not comply with the law should not complain later when my office takes action based upon solid evidence. That day has come. Today we underline in the clearest possible fashion that international law and the laws of armed conflict apply to everyone. No foot soldier, no commander, no civilian leader, no one can act with impunity.
Israeli War Cabinet's Minister Benny Gantz said accepting the ICC prosecutor's decision, quote, would harm the ability of any country to defend its citizens and will constitute a crime of historic proportion. Gallant and Netanyahu have overseen Israel's offensive against Hamas in Gaza since the Palestinian militant group's deadly October 7th raid on Israel. Some 1,200 people were killed and more than 250 taken hostage in the rampage, according to Israeli tallies. Since then, at least 35,000 Palestinians have been killed in the war in Gaza, according to the enclave's health ministry. And aid agencies have also warned of widespread hunger, a risk of famine, and dire shortages of fuel and medical supplies. Israeli and Palestinian leaders have both previously dismissed allegations of committing war crimes. Khan said evidence collected by his office showed Israel has systematically deprived civilians of objects indispensable to human survival, including restricting food, water, medicine and energy. Netanyahu and Gallant bore responsibility, he said, for Israel willfully causing great suffering and for killing as a war crime. The Hamas leaders face allegations of bearing responsibility for crimes committed by the militant group, including extermination and murder, the taking of hostages, torture, rape and other acts of sexual violence. It will now be up to a panel of pre-trial judges to determine whether the evidence from the ICC prosecutor's office supports the issuing of arrest warrants. The ICC's 124 member states are obliged to immediately arrest the wanted person if they are on a member state's territory. However, it has no means to enforce arrest warrants, and its investigation into the Gaza war has been opposed by the United States and Israel, neither of whom are members of the ICC.
And WION's correspondent Jody Cohen has sent us this report from Ra'anana in Israel. Listen in.
Israel's reaction has been shock and outrage. The government had been preparing to host the ICC chief prosecutor, who hasn't visited Israel since just after the 7th of October, to show him how decisions are made and how strikes are approved with legal advice and how Israel is providing humanitarian aid. Now, Prime Minister Netanyahu suggested that it's outrageous to compare what he called Hamas monsters to the IDF, which he said is the most moral army in the world. And several prominent military experts said that Israel has taken more efforts to protect civilians than any other army in history. Now, reactions abroad have been mixed. Some countries, including South Africa, which brought the case against Israel at the ICJ, welcomed the request. Others agree with Israel that it's outrageous, including US President Biden, whose administration suggested that the decision would embolden Hamas. Now, several countries, such as Germany, have said that the request gives the false impression of equivalence between Hamas, which carried out the massacre and still holds hostages, and Israel, which they say has a right to defend its people.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.